to dirty work. Adam Copeland and Derek Papa on KNBR 104.5 and 680 AM, the sports leader.
It's Dirty Work on a Tuesday afternoon. Adam Copeland, D-Pop, Tim Webb, and a real pleasure to be joined on the phone by one of our new weekly guests. He's the general manager of Stanford football. Andrew Luck joins us courtesy of the UMA guest line as Stanford's getting ready to kick off the 2025 season. Andrew, Adam Copeland, Derek Papa, how you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me, you guys. You know how to make me feel at home when you play All Right Now to lead into the segment. That's a great way to butter a Stanford guy up.
Well,
there you go.
Well, dude, I do the pre- and post-game for Stanford football on our sister station, KNBR 1050, the home of Stanford football all season long. The first game this Saturday, August 23rd, at Hawaii, 4:30 kickoff over on Mike Kohler's KNBR 1050. But, dude, the march in to All Right Now, one of the great moments of Stanford football every season when you're down on the farm is the team doing the walk-in off the bus and going into the stadium to the band playing. I mean, it's one of the big hype-up moments of Stanford football.
It is. One of the joys I've had in this job so far is helping teach our players some of the traditions. And I think a lot had been lost through some tough times, and even going back through COVID and other things. And so I taught all our staff, some alums like Cody Whitfield and Tank Williams on staff right now, but we taught all our players our fight song and when to jump during our fight song, so they know how to be set up for it.
Yeah, timing big as we're talking to Andrew Luck on the UMA guest line. So, look, it's really cool that you're back in this role. I mean, I've seen you hanging around on campus as we do the pregame shows for years, but it's really cool to see you in this role. We were just talking earlier in the show about the article that Zach Kiefer had written for The Athletic, and I thought it was really open and honest to you and talking about your past with the NFL and how you kind of came back and fell back in love with football. I thought that was one of the most poignant things, as you said. I just kind of fell out of love, and that's maybe the most human and relatable thing that any of us could think about an NFL player and relate to a player in that capacity. What made you fall back in love with football, and why is this the right role for you right now?
Yeah, a little bit of distance from the game it helped me realize how important the game was to my development as a young man. My core relationships are through football. Shoot, I got a scholarship to Stanford, to play football. I met my wife, at Stanford. So I have so much in my life, to thank football for. So I think that, part of the, reciprocity and giving back to a game, I think that's part of what drew me back. I obviously love Stanford, and the context of where Stanford football was, what's going on in sort of the big picture, in the world of college football, and where me and my wife and our family was in our lives, when this opportunity to really get back into football, as GM of a program and really sort of the first GM that runs a football program, it just made sense. And look, it's a great game. To be clear, I have no desire to play the game anymore. People still ask me all the time, are you going to go play? But no, there's a difference between loving playing quarterback and loving the game. I love the game, and I view a big part of my job is creating the conditions for our young men at Stanford to thrive and build a winning culture and give ourselves as best a chance as we can to win football games.
Talking to Andrew Luck on the UMA guest line. Andrew, I just want to say this is an absolute treat to talk to you. I've been watching your career from Stanford to the Colts, and I look forward to what you're going to do now with Stanford as a general manager. And just reading the article that Zach Kiefer wrote yesterday, I particularly liked the moment where you were having to fill out your resume to be the general manager, and on the resume you wrote 12-year quarterback. It's like, I don't have another job, but that's all I need to do this job. But also in the article, you talked about how you picked the brain of Chris Ballard and Sam Presti and Brad Stevens. So what did all those general managers, what did all those men give you advice when you're going to do your next phase of your career?
Yeah, it's a great question. I felt very fortunate to still have an amazing relationship with Chris Ballard, and we went through some stuff. I mean, shoot, I quit on him, So, and we've maintained such a strong relationship. And so he certainly has been a resource throughout my short tenure so far, and how you manage people, how you construct a roster, how you think about tough questions, right? Sam Presti helped so much with thinking about organizational structure and what's the best way to empower people that you're working with that are on your team to do the best job possible. Brad Stevens is unbelievable. I got to know him for a couple weeks when I was drafted by the Colts. He was still the head coach of the Butler Bulldogs. basketball team, and his office was always open, so I would just pop in if I was working out at Butler. And so it was cool to see him in Boston this year. And you know, the thing that stuck out most from him was, you know, he viewed it as his job to love his guys, right? For Jason Tatum to walk in every day and just feel the love and feel the support. And so that's been a huge one. And you haven't mentioned John Lynch yet, who
I was just about to ask that, yeah.
The most accessible resource for me. And look, it's really cool to have another Stanford grad right down the road, you know, running one of the most successful NFL franchises as a GM. And he's been an incredible resource. You know, one, he has a willingness to help and show up to things and fundraisers, and you know, he's one of our NFL Hall of Famers. He's a legend, so I'm appreciative of that. And he's helped me through some thorny issues, you know, and things that I'm certainly not prepared for in this job.
Talking to Andrew Luck, nice enough to join us, and we'll do it weekly with him here on the UMA guest line. So Frank Reich, another guy you've known for a long time, you hired him as the, I guess it's interim head coach is the tag. I know it's a different situation based on the timing in which you took the job and the timing in which he was hired, but it's also just sort of interesting in that you're in a transitional phase. The school is certainly in a transitional phase with the program in defining the next direction while you're figuring out who your opponents are for the first time. If you haven't played all the teams yet in the ACC, in the conference, even 2 years into this. So tell us about that decision. Why was this the right decision for him? Why is he the right guy? And what's the hope for where the program goes this year and beyond?
Yeah, you know, I didn't anticipate making a coaching change, but such is life, right? You roll with the punches if I've learned anything. And Frank was my first call when I realized I had to, you know, we were going to be in a position where I was making a hire and making a hire off cycle, right? March is an odd time, to say the least, to make a college football, you know, head coaching hire. So, no, but Frank and I built a very close working relationship when I was playing quarterback, in my last year, and he was a sort of first time head coach. But I called him. He was shopping for strawberries in Costco in Greensboro, North Carolina. And he had no idea what was going on. He just thought we were always calling a chat, which is normal. And he was intrigued enough about coming out for a year, and we were both, what worked for both of us was a year, and what worked for us. And so I'm grateful Linda, his wife, was even open to this idea. But Frank was intrigued enough to fly out, and we put the recruiting press on him, President Levin, Condoleezza Rice, and he agreed to do this for a year. And look, this is a year about taking steps forward, right? And it's, one of our players, Jay Green, our safety number 5, asked me when we were sort of between coaches, hey, what's the plan? And I said, I'm working on a plan, but I'll tell you one thing, Jay, this isn't the NBA. You don't tank in college football for the first pick or the best recruit. That's not how it works. There's no tanking here. And, I take it sacred that this might be the last year of football for people in that locker room, whether they're seniors or otherwise. And I owe it to them the best chance for success. And success in a holistic way, right? And winning being a major, major metric of that.
Talking to Andrew Luck on the UMA guest line. So, yeah, you talked about how you had to convince Frank Reich to come back and coach. I know your playing days are over. You're not looking, you don't want to do that again. But when you were retired for the first couple of years, did any coaches reach out to you to come back? No, they knew not to.
Okay.
they knew not to. Absolutely.
Did you? And I was thinking about this too when I was reading that article. Have you seen, or is it too close to home, the show Quarterback on Netflix? Have you watched any of that over the last couple of years?
You know what? My wife's watched a few episodes, and she showed me a few clips. But I wouldn't say it's too close to home. It's just I don't want to watch it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
not interesting to me. I lived it.
Yeah, I totally get that, because my thought is like I think maybe for a fan perspective, it's a good thing to open us up and to see what that's like. It does. I think it humanizes a lot, and seeing different guys at different stages of their career. But we didn't have that same sort of access. Not every player gives that access. That I think it enlightens me a little bit to what some of these guys are going through on a human level.
Yeah, no, it's a fascinating position, right? Is there any position in sports that holds more of sort of lore and fable and mythology than the quarterback, right? Like it's a position that's incredibly high paid. There only seem to be a few who really, really do it well, at a high level for a while. I mean, think of all the analogies in business and in society and communities about quarterbacks and leading fourth quarter drives and Hail Mary. It's the position has taken on a life of its own, and certainly in a world too with social media where celebrity is part of that position, right?
Sure.
So I think it's I can understand the fascination and infatuation with the position, and I'll also say, the top quarterbacks, and we expect this of our young men at Stanford, all of them, like, you got to work really hard to do it and to do it well. A Patrick Mahomes, a Josh Allen, these guys are talented, yes, and they're also machines when it comes to working and preparing and the diligence that it takes to be elite.
And it's so funny, I wonder from your perspective how much you've seen the game evolve and change. Like, we talk about Tom Brady and him playing virtually across 4 different generations of the NFL in terms of how it evolved, right? I mean, and you talked about wanting to play initially until you were 40 or 45, and you're still not even to that age now. When you look at the game now, what about that position? What about the game itself has evolved the most? Because even in baseball, they want to fast-track guys to the major leagues. And Tom Brady had a great quote last year where he said, I think that organizations in the NFL fail their young quarterbacks before young quarterbacks fail their organizations. How do you view that, and what has evolved and changed the most, you think, since you retired?
No, I find that quote fascinating, and I think I wonder often if you look, at high school, Pop Warner high school, college football, if how different, if anything, the preparation of quarterbacks are. Look, ask me in a year, and I'm probably going to have a better answer for this as I go through recruiting cycles and watch a lot more college football. But I'm really curious about how quarterbacks are prepared entering the NFL, because of some of the changes at the college and high school level, and sort of the proliferation of passing leagues might be a piece of this whole thing. I do think in the NFL though, I think we've seen rules that are continue to be implemented that protects the health of players, which is a good thing, including defenseless players, which quarterbacks often are. I think I'll have a better answer for you in a year from now. If we all have enough fun to keep doing this.
That's fair. That's fair.
2026. Yeah.
You mentioned quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen being elite. Have you seen a lot of Brock Purdy, and what are your impressions of him?
Oh, I love watching him play. He's got balance. He's got poise. I've loved watching that offense for a long, long time. We used to play against Gary Kubiak's teams down in Houston, which were similar styles and versions, and no one pushed the ball downfield better than this offense. And so it's been really fun to see what Coach Shanahan's done and what Brock has done has been incredible. He's a treat to watch.
In terms of what we'll see from the Stanford offense this year, things look familiar to you from Frank Reich? I mean, how similar is the stuff that he's implementing now at the college level?
Frank, I think Coach Reich is a really strong football mind. I mean, he's come in unique circumstances, and one of our themes is sort of let's embrace what's unique about this year and embrace what's unique about having me as a GM that's not too far removed from playing quarterback, and a coach that's here from a year. But no, he's brought a treasure trove of experience, whether from his years with Jim Kelly and running the run and shoot to experiences with Phillip Rivers and the Cardinals and the Eagles and certainly offices I ran in Indianapolis, which were sophisticated and fun, and ran the ball well and threw the ball all over the field. And so he's bringing a lot of what he has, and we have an offensive staff that also has strong conviction about things. So I'm excited to see. Frankly, like everybody else, what it looks like on the field and during a game and getting to week 0 and playing an incredibly worthy opponent in Hawaii and seeing what it's like. To a certain degree, I'll be like any fan sitting out in the stands or watching on the TV, like, how are we going to do? And look, I can tell you this, our guys have played their butts off and are excited for this opportunity and excited to get out there and put it on the field.
You definitely had your battles against Bill Belichick as a Colt and him being the head coach of the Patriots. Did you ever think in your wildest dreams you'd be going up against him in college football?
So weird, yeah.
It's amazing. We've got Frank Reich, Bill O'Brien, and Bill Belichick in the ACC.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, I didn't think this would be it.
It's pretty good. Andrew Luck, the general manager of Stanford football, joins us, and we'll do a weekly with him throughout the college football season. Again, Stanford kicks off at 4:30 local time here, and we'll have it over on KNBR 1050 this Saturday afternoon to start the 2025 season. Go ahead, Dan.
Just one more for you, Andrew. I know that during your playing days, you always said you only had a flip phone. Have you upgraded at all? Or are you still rocking that flip phone? You have still.
I'm embarrassed to tell you, I have 2 iPhones now. I got a personal iPhone and a work iPhone. You know what? I do it for the job. If it helps Stanford football, then I do it. There's an old quote that one of my old coach at Stanford said, I support no cause, foreign or domestic, other than the greatness of Stanford football. So guys, I appreciate you having me on. For the folks out there, look, it's going to be a fun year. I'm incredibly excited about what we're building, and I'm incredibly excited about the hard work our young men have put off, and they get to go show it on the field and follow us. Tune in. We need you. We'll get the Bay Area excited about college football.
Andrew, we got a lot of people checking in our text line. They're loving hearing you. We love having you on. It's going to be a lot of fun throughout the season. And honestly, it's really cool in the era we're in. I mean, Buster Posey with the Giants, now the president. Mike Dunleavy was a Warrior. Now he's the GM. You've got John Lynch, who was at Stanford. Now he's the general manager and the president for the 49ers. It's awesome to welcome you into that circle and great to have you as part of the show. We'll talk to you next week. Good luck on Saturday, Andrew.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Take care. Go Card.
Great deal, man. The great
Thanks,
Andrew
Andrew.
Luck. That was really cool, man. This is going to be a lot of fun.